Yeah.
Well, let's get her started.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. We made
You
it
guys
to
watch the first 2 episodes?
I did, yeah.
Oh,
She sent me
nice.
the link.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, happy
Pros
days.
with pints.
This is good.
Yeah.
With 4 of us here.
Yeah,
we're
4 here.
multiplying. Next time I'll have 8 on.
I thought the first 2 were great. Well,
Thanks.
So when you sent me the link, it was great.
Awesome. Well, I'm drinking a cherry beer again from Rebellion. You're drinking
Got the lentil today.
lentil. Colty's drinking Rebellion Amber, and Burgess got the Molson Coors.
So we're covering the spectrum.
Covering
of
the
beer.
full spectrum of beer here, all the way from
Patriotic to the reps.
light to amber to absolutely.
You're drinking that because that's the darkest one you got.
No.
No, yeah, I offered me some
Stout?
oatmeal stout.
Yeah.
We just think
Oatmeal stout, and I was thinking I'd probably pour that on my porridge. But nah, I don't
be
think
good.
so.
Well, you know, me and Brad will introduce the guests here, the infamous guests. Graham Coulter,
Hey,
Gord
Hello
Burgess, the veterans of Saskatchewan golf, and legends in the zone. Although you guys keep giving us shit for calling you legends.
well, you got to remember, there's lots of guys that are older than us. We're not the only old guys. When you think about Coney and all those guys up in Saskatoon that are invisible.
Are they still alive?
Yeah, but they didn't get on their knees and beg to be on this show. So we're stuck with what we got here.
Well, you didn't tell them it was $250 cash an episode.
Yeah, you pay up.
Shh, quiet. That was a quiet. Yeah,
I
quiet.
thought it was a bargain myself.
Love it.
It's good.
So Burgie was head pro at the Royal Regina. Why don't you give us a little rundown of your golf career?
Yeah, I think I'm curious to hear
Other than the Royal, or yeah.
Well, I started out at the Murray in early 70s, I guess 72. And I was
You were very young.
high school teacher, but after school and weekends and summers, I went out to the Murray. A couple years later, I got involved in the teaching with Wayne Frank. And then in '86, I left teaching, went to Royal Regina for 25 years. Then retired.
That's
I like it.
That's a great career, man.
Yeah.
That's a great career.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I often get asked, so if you were teaching high school, security, no risk, no potential.
Right.
So why did you leave that security blank? I said, no, I loved golf. I wanted to take the chances. There was high risk, but you had high potential.
Yeah. Were you married at the time?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was on board with the jump, the change.
Yeah. Never. Yeah. Like she didn't work. She was just raising the kids.
Yeah.
You know. So
That works out.
it was. Yeah, because it was. Well, you know, you spend 15 hours a day or 12 hours is a light day, all that time at the course, and yeah, you don't have a lot of time at home with the family.
No, you sure don't.
So,
You sure don't.
but yeah, so it's people often say, well, what do you miss teaching? I said, no, I said, I just got older kids that I'm dealing with. You know, that's all it is.
Had a different, a more enjoyable topic.
Yeah.
Well, you were a math teacher, weren't you?
Yeah.
Wow,
I
that'd
did
be
not know
exciting.
that.
Math and physics.
Mathematician.
Something like that. So you're really good at counting 2s, 3s, and 4s on your scorecard, is what you're saying.
1, 2, and 3.
Ones,
Yeah.
sorry, 1s,
Yeah.
2s, 3s, and 4s. Do you have any? How many 1s do you have?
I have 2 1s.
2 1s?
Wow.
So this is the deal. You might have been there. It was at it was a pro event out at, was it Kenosha? No, Katepwa.
Okay.
And Stevie was there.
Yep.
Stevie
It's
Knapp.
back in the sand greens?
No,
No.
grass green. And Stevie Knapp was the pro there.
That was
okay.
that was a 9-hole grass green.
Yeah. So he brought us out there.
You've never been there?
Well, yeah, but this is, I assume you're talking about, like,
Oh, not
more
the
than 10
'70s.
years
It
ago.
wasn't even
Oh,
there.
no.
Well, that's what I
it
mean.
was
Yeah.
the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
So
Sorry.
there was a, I don't know if it was a pro event or just a pro. There was 20 of us or something.
It was this giant skins game.
Yeah. So par 3 uphill. I think it was the second hole uphill. Hit it, pull it, curse. Now we're looking for the ball. boink. I guess it hit the bank.
In the
Goes
jug?
in the hole.
Nice.
Never saw it. Never saw it.
That'd be good skin money, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it
You
was.
gotta think that wasn't
But that was
matched.
back in the day when the guy who scored the ace
Everybody,
Oh.
yeah.
buys
Skin
for
money comes in
everybody.
and right back.
Yeah,
out.
right back into the bar.
I never did understand that
Yeah.
tradition.
But yeah, and the other hole-in-one I got was down in Indian Canyon in Spokane.
There we go.
Great public golf course. You gotta get a chance, you gotta play it. It's one of the greatest golf courses I've ever played. So my buddy and I were playing our second round, and it's later in the day in the sun. It's I don't know 125 yards away. I hit the ball. It felt pretty good. And there he's jumping. He said, "Gord, it's like I scored." Going in. It went in. I never saw it because I'm looking into the sun. I'm blind.
you're
So you
over-
got two
you're
over
over
ones.
two.
I haven't
It's
seen
visual.
either one of
I'm
them.
calling
Now the third,
shenanigans.
fourth, and fifth. No, I know.
Yeah.
Hey, yet to
I
come.
didn't see
Yet to
that
come.
either.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
I like
really
it.
cool.
All right, Coulter.
Coulter, you're up.
Give us a rundown on
Yeah.
your golfing history.
Well, my history began in Northern Ireland as a just a schoolboy who
Never went to school, but
went to a school who went to a school where they didn't have any golf. There were no golf teams at the school
Yeah.
then. So all through my formative years, I was involved in rugby and cricket, and I played a little bit of golf, but not much. Then I immigrated to Canada, and I was in the banking business, and I ended up working in Niagara Falls. And I started to play more golf until one day the manager came to me and he said, "Coulter, is it your wish to become a banker or a golf pro?" At which point in time I said, "Well, here's the keys. I'm going to the golf course." And I hired on. I was married with 2 kids. It's 1969. Hired on with a Scottish guy at the golf club called Willowdell in Niagara Falls. Its most famous member being Rod Spittle,
yeah.
who won a couple of U.S. amateurs and then went on as a walk-on on Ohio State. Played there for 4 years and decided to try the tour for 1 year. Didn't like it and went
So
away.
he was the head HP at?
No,
was a
he
member.
was just a member.
Oh, okay.
And then he resurfaced as a senior. And he's been playing the senior tour
Yeah,
until
yeah,
a little
right.
while ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went to work for the guy who ran the shop at Willowdell. And a year later, I got my first job in a town called Fort Erie. And in those days, you could get into a situation which classified you as a B class golf
Yeah,
pro.
right. Yeah.
You weren't allowed to hire any staff. You had to pay your dues and all this other stuff. It was a category where you had no status within the PGA until you wrote your Class A exam and played out,
Well.
which took 4 years. But anyway, I was 29 years old and married and had to take the job.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity. I was there for 10 years. Worked a little bit on the Ontario PGA boards, and then I got the job at Wascana in 1980. And I was there until 2000. From there, I moved to a little golf course up north called Greenwater. Worked there for 2 years, and then came back and worked
That
at
Greenwater is a pretty limited job description.
I'll give you the whole detail when we're not on the air. And then worked at Deer Valley for 5, and now I'm happily employed by Napper from time to time, where I teach and play a little bit. So it's been great.
And you're the president of the PGA of Canada stretch as well?
Yeah, I was. I was on that national board for 12 years, and served for 2 years as the pres. And it was an interesting, very gratifying experience because you did a lot of traveling, met a lot of the guys from across the country because we had representatives from every zone on the board at that time, and did a lot of traveling, not just within Canada, but did some stuff across the water, as we say.
Yeah.
And that was exciting. I guess the most exciting part of it was every year the Canadian PGA gets an invitation from the Masters to bring along the president, the vice president, and the secretary. So for 3 years in a row, I went to the Masters with whoever happened to be on the board
And did you make
at
the
the time.
cut?
I had one opportunity to play. It's
really?
an absolute fact.
Really?
Yeah, and you have to be invited by a member.
Yeah.
Well, by the time we got finished with all of our businesses and trying to get the deal organized, it was going to be 2 years after I had played because the guy was I can't remember. He was out of the country lots, but by the time the arrival date came for the date to play, the guy had died.
No. He
So
said, I'd rather die than play
How
with
dare
Coulter.
he?
Did you walk into the pro shop? I don't know if you guys know this, but I had an arrangement.
Yeah, he said.
But the beautiful thing was that you had access to every aspect of the golf club, except the press box. You were into the locker rooms, into the dining rooms.
But you never,
Never.
representing the PGA of Canada, you couldn't play.
No.
You weren't entitled to
The only way you can play at Augusta is if you're
With a
in the
member.
presence
of a
of a
member.
member.
So
The
not even
member
like under
can't
his
call you.
recommendation. Yeah, you have to be.
You have to be with the guy.
them.
So close.
What years did you get to go to watch?
90, 91, 92, which was
Faldo, Woosnam, and
Couples.
Freddie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh,
outstanding.
that's really good for
I
you.
could go for a while. I
Wow,
think.
that's really
Close.
good for you.
You know all,
I mean,
you
you
know all the
guys-
winners of the Masters from way back?
I used to be able to go from '86 till to the present day.
Really?
I don't know if I could go that far.
Either of you guys
Again, I'd
been
probably get them
to
wrong.
Augusta?
Never,
No,
never been. I've been
no,
to
it's
Atlanta
bucket list
before.
I
for
haven't
sure,
been either, but
No.
that'd be a...
Once upon a time, you could present your PGA card at the gate and get in.
And get in.
Like back then, the
Man.
practice rounds were free. You could go on Tuesday, and
You
Wednesday,
can watch.
and walk around. And then it got to be so popular and so populated
Oh, yeah.
that they did the same process as they did so that you could actually go to the golf
Yeah.
course,
Right.
which meant you had to put your name in a draw.
Yeah.
And then when you win the draw, you can buy tickets. Like if you get drawn.
That's
you
right.
get to purchase
And,
it.
and
Yeah.
the price of the tickets was still very reasonable.
Right. And that's
I
what
don't
they
even think
say.
it's that bad for practice rounds right now. I think it's only
No,
30.
it's exclusive. It's not
Yeah.
that expensive. I think it's the same with the actual membership. I mean, it's expensive, but it's not the most expensive for given the quality or the status
The
of
status
the
of
golf
the venue,
course.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
the most expensive membership. It's just impossible to get.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, these Masters tickets, the weekly packages, are passed on from generation to
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
You almost have to die to get to the next level.
Yeah.
That's like season tickets at the Maple Leafs.
Maple Leafs.
Still waiting on yours?
Yeah, but who wants those?
Oh, good.
All right.
But I think just a quick point in passing. I think the cost for the week to a person who was a pass holder was
Yeah.
$250.
That's not bad.
That was
at
for
all.
for 7 days, which included your parking.
Wow.
So it was probably the cheapest
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cheapest
absolutely.
ticket going, but the most
But you
desirable,
never
and hardest to
played
get. No.
The guy died. Like, what is it?
I know, it was just bad luck.
Jesus.
Anyway,
All right.
Yeah. So when that's a good. We told you they were legends, but yeah, that's so there's an
It's gonna be a
awesome
long
overview.
episode.
I
There's
think
an
it's-
awesome overview. I love it.
that's just longevity, man.
No, that's
nothing to do with
awesome.
being a
But-
legend.
Pause,
No,
pause
you
the
guys
video, get
We
some
both-
popcorn,
we
some
both
chips.
have heart transplant.
tons of experience, and that's why we love chatting with you guys.
Yeah, I didn't know you'd been to
Yeah.
the Masters 3 times. That's awesome.
What? When did you guys first start playing golf? Young?
No, I
Millions?
never. Born and raised in Regina, went to high school here. I ended up getting. I played football was my sport. I went out to Simon Fraser, got a football scholarship with the likes of Davy Cutler. He was with me there.
Were you a kicker?
Nope. Fast.
We're not laughing. I mean, it's not insulting to kickers.
We're not laughing at you.
But went out there. I never played golf. You know, as a kid, you drag your J.C. Penney's behind the bike, go out to the gyro or the crate.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was the
yeah,
big
yeah.
deal. You get out, hey, fresh oil on the greens today. Let's go. So we go out there and play, but never really played. Went out there for 4 years, graduated, came back there, and that was in '71. That's when I went out to the Murray. And that's when you think you're some kind of an athlete, so you play a little bit. And,
Yeah.
everywhere. I had all the shots. Just didn't know,
Just didn't know which one was coming out.
But, so I started getting serious in it. Took a lesson from Wayne Frank. That would be '72, I guess. And then he said one day, "Do you want to help me teach in the winter?" He was doing some stuff in Weyburn or wherever. I said, "Yeah, sure." So then in '75 or whatever, I got into the apprentice program, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So I was a late starter. Never was a good player or a great player. Well, no, good.
Sure you are, Burge.
No, good player.
Come on.
I like the teaching, and that's what got me into it. Not my playing, by any means.
Yeah.
And so I guess by a golfing standard, you see a lot of the guys in the pros or whatever, in the PGA, they started when they were like 10 or 11 or 12. I was 23, 24 when I started, so pretty late actually when you look at it.
Relatively.
Birdie makes fun of sand greens, but I started playing on sand greens, and this was in like 1999. So it wasn't 20, 30 years later. I was still going out to, and I remember when we moved to Raymore, and Punachai was the golf course I grew up on. My dad went there first, and he's like, okay, there's got to be a golf course nearby. So he's like, okay, he drives 15 minutes away, Punachai, goes to the first hole, looks down the first hole. I'm like, oh, that looks like a golf course. Yeah, we can move the family here. He goes out to play the first time. He gets to the green. He goes, what is this? And they're like, well, we played sand greens here. He's like, what's a sand green? Why is it made of sand?
So I got to hit bunker shots everywhere?
Well, that reminds me of a story. Bob Hughes, leader post editor. So he was a member at the Royal when I was employed there. And we would always kibitz around. And he was bringing in, for a rider game or something, some high rollers from down east. So he meets them at the airport, and they're flying over. And you go right over the Craig Golf Course, the Sand Green Golf. And he says, he said, well, I belong to it. We're right by the Regina Club, right by the airport. He says, what the hell? So he lands and picks them up, and they say, like, we'll go golf now. And they say, well, what? He says, well, so he goes, takes them out of there and goes down by the Schmerler Way, goes right by the sand green, and then, no, we're over the tracks. So, he just laughed.
We're the other one by the airport.
Because guys in Toronto would have no idea.
Absolutely not.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, they don't, you say, like Bradley was saying, they don't know what it is.
No, that's true. But there were lots and lots of them, and they're probably
they're still there.
Lots of people still play on.
I did a clinic in
you're too young to be losing your memory.
Oh no! What? I can't even remember where it was, but it was not. They weren't even like sand greens. It was like
artificial
gravel, like like crusher dust, like
a
schoolyard
tennis courts.
Yeah, it was like my high school yard where I scraped up my knees all the time. And I looked at it, and the one person goes, "Well," and so I, get late in the clinic, and anybody have any questions? Like anything I can answer, just whatever you need. Well, how do you putt better? And I looked over at their green, and I said, chip it on and pick it up. Don't putt.
Yeah, that's the less privileged courses that don't have the oil supply to put the oil down. Get the nice oil.
Less privileged. I like
that. Said fresh
oil.
Yeah.
I guess
and there was a real technique.
Yeah.
So here's the mat, and you drag the mat to the hole. So if you're really good, you tilt it, create a knee straw.
Yeah.
I was putting everything.
Yeah.
No wonder you're turning pro. Handicap was zilch.
I went out to Punachai a couple of years ago. They had the rate sheet up, and it was like a 2013 rate sheet, but they had the 3 crossed out, and it was changed to a 6 or 7, whatever year it was, and it was like $5 over 9 holes, $10 to play all day, and the season membership was like $120 or something like that. Economical. I mean, it's a nice track.
Price per round.
I like playing. There's a few tough holes.
But a lot of those sand greenies, so need a tee time. No, you just go out,
put your name
and
on
there's
the trough with the golf balls,
like a metal trough
that you drop your ball in.
Drop your ball in, and the next one up, grab it, and you go.
Yeah.
So guys would be
planting their ball at the front.
But we went to play at Wolseley. There's a sand green there, and they don't have a clubhouse or anything. They just have a little mailbox.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
you put your $2 in an envelope, put your name on it, and you go play.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's perfect. All right, Coulter.
When did you start playing?
The lowdown. When
did you start? Did you play in Ireland?
I played a little bit in Ireland. Yeah, my dad was in the cattle business and played a lot of golf. And my uncle actually was a manager of the Balmoral Golf Club. The Balmoral Golf Club was pretty famous because it had a guy called Fred Daly as the golf pro. And Fred Daly was the only Irishman to have won the British Open.
Oh.
And his claim to fame was that he could drink anybody under the table at any time. And he did quite frequently.
Yeah.
And his favorite golf course was Portrush. where they play in the British Open next year. And that became a golf course that, although I didn't play much, we always tried to have a game at Portrush at least once a year. But the other interesting thing about Freddie Daly was that his most famous assistant was David Faraday.
Oh, really?
There we go.
Faraday worked for
Connection.
Faraday
There we
worked for
go.
Daly for 4 years before he ended up going and playing.
Maybe
on
we'll
the
get David
Yeah.
Faraday on the next
Yeah.
Pros with Fine. Oh, no,
Yeah.
he's
tour.
busy.
Oh, he's a Texan now. He's not
He's
an
busy,
Irishman anymore.
right.
Yeah.
Is that what he is?
He's
He's a trader.
He's
You
full.
gotta disown
He's
him.
full on
Absolutely.
Heard
America.
it here first. Dave Ferry's disowned.
Yeah, so I did play a little
Not
bit
by
over
us,
there,
like Coulter.
Yeah.
and started seriously when I moved to Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And then joined a club and started to play.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I got into the I
Did
got
you
into
play
the
Sand
business.
Greens?
No, I did play
Lucky guy.
Sand Greens at Wolseley. Well, I got into the business for the same reason as Burgess did. I'm immigrating over here and taking the plunge. I didn't want to just spend my life as a banker.
Yeah. Who does?
I don't know why.
They got great hours, though.
It was
Like
a
3
good,
o'clock
it was a good
tea
playing,
time every day.
good paying job, and you get to play a lot of
Yeah,
golf.
great. Great.
I was
for
looking at
golf.
my banker friends for a round.
But how many
Yeah.
people think, what do you do? I'm a golfer. Oh, you lucky stiff.
Oh,
You get to,
play
all
golf
you do
every
is
day.
play golf. I bet you I play 30 rounds a year. And, the more you're involved, the deeper involved you get into the industry,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
the less you play.
Well, that was
Yeah.
my
Especially when
two.
you're starting out.
My two firsts were my first job in the golf industry was retail with Nevada Bobs.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I might have, my first 2 years there, I might have played like 15 rounds of golf in a year.
Yeah.
And then figured it out, started playing more. And then my first year at the Royal was the same way because you're there for, your 8 hours or
You got
however
your
long you're there
shift,
for.
and then
You
got
work your shift. And
lessons,
yeah.
then you got...
And
so-
even I wasn't even teaching at that point, and it was like, so I've already been here for my shift in the shop. Do I really want to go spend
Oh,
4
you
more
got
hours?
No energy.
Like I'm here for 12 hours. Is that and then you just kind of
Oh, yeah.
you better play if you want to play, you gotta
Yeah.
spend those 12, 13 hours there.
But the
Yeah.
opportunity. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The opportunity to be an entrepreneur in something that you really loved,
Oh,
where you
yeah.
could dedicate
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
whole entire life to it,
Yeah.
and accept the challenges, and hopefully down the road there was going to be a nice financial reward,
Yeah.
which came very
But
late.
that comes from
It's
hard
hard
work
Lots of
and
work, yeah.
dedication.
Man.
That's
Yeah.
the-
Yeah.
But
And you don't play
great.
golf every day. You don't wear pretty
No.
clothes. You don't get free golf clothes. Unless you buy $100,000
Yeah,
worth of product from
yeah.
somebody, then you get
Then
the
you
free
get the
stuff.
Or
free
your
cook.
boss buys $100,000 worth of product from somebody
Yeah.
who's generous enough.
Exactly.
But
to
someone
give
asked me,
you
says,
some-
why do you like practicing so much? Well, when you're the HP and you're running everything, okay, I got a 45-minute window here.
It's quiet time.
Yeah. Go out and you hit balls. That's your own time
Yeah.
because you don't have 4 hours to play golf.
you
Very-
No.
It's
I
difficult,
played every
challenging.
Wednesday and maybe once on
Yeah.
a weekend. So
Yeah.
you played maybe
Yeah, men's nights for sure. You
6,
gotta
8, 10 times a
And-
year. But I made a point of playing in every single zone event that I could get my hands on, because then I'd
You still do.
gotta
leaving,
yeah.
I have to go.
Yeah, I have a zone event, which
And
is
that,
awesome.
That was great.
Which
And
you wish more people would do that.
but you gotta have.
Especially
I think
Today's
I think it should be a condition of employment.
Yeah.
That would
That if
be
you're
great.
a member of the PGA, you play the golf game. You
Oh,
don't
that's-
just,
Yeah,
you
it
don't
would.
sell green fees.
That's
But-
how you meet people.
but it-
That's how
yeah.
you
You
meet
off-
other pros.
For
It's,
sure it is. It's a networking industry.
It's
Oh,
my
yeah.
But
favorite
you
part
often
about
hear
it.
of situations where the club you're employed for or employed with, they're they're hesitant to let you go away all these times, and play in the PGA events. So it.
But you have to
Also-
sell out as a service
Oh,
to
yeah.
your members,
Yeah.
to your club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
puts you on the map.
But a lot of them are genuinely ignorant of when are you going to go play some golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your home course? If you're playing,
Yeah.
if you're playing somewhere out in BC, well, we play out of Regina.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, what's the name of the golf course? Blah, blah, blah. And you broadcast the fact
Yeah.
that that's where you work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that comes down to how you manage your contract when you sign on the job. Part of the deal is that I'm a golf professional and I
wanna
play
go
golf
play
and
golf.
I want to be able to go play.
Yeah.
And the way the business is now, where not so many golf pros own the shop, they're basically hourly employees, and they're working, I don't know how many hours they work, 40, 45. That would have been a long weekend for us guys.
Yeah.
So there's no reason that these guys can't play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not at the shop all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of them will be juggling family life as well too. So if they are putting in that kind of hours, and then they gotta take time away to go and play, but they're also juggling. Maybe they have kids or a wife that doesn't like the fact that they play a bunch of golf too. So
and that to me, like people say, how can you be out here all the time? Well, my wife is exceptional. She's different in the sense that she's got the kids, she's got the house, and they do their thing, and she knows that that's what I'm doing. If you don't have that, what's the word, relationship or that environment to work under, it makes it really tough.
Well, in retrospect, Burgess, I look back at it and I think to myself, if I had to do it over, would I go to work in March and come home at Christmas and see my kids for 2 months? Because when you've got all the stuff hanging on the walls and you got the 20% credit line going on, you know that if you're not there, the door's closed, nothing's happening. But I admire Brownie for that particular purpose, because he does have a very wise relationship between his club and his family, and he's able to spend time and watch his kids grow up. And I personally miss that. I've got 2 kids, and God knows how many grandkids. I can't remember.
But I often
it's Thursday, Colty. Today is Thursday.
I'm actually shocked you made it here and found the place. I walked in, you just beat me here.
I had you in my GPL.
But just to what Graham
not GPS. GPL is a great the general post office.
Just to add what Coulter was saying there, I often look back. I mean, there was years when I started. I mean, you're all in. You're all invested. Back in our day, we owned all the concessions. We had the storage, the cart, everything. So high risk. Now, the potential was good if the weather cooperated, and but the mindset was you got to be there to help your investment.
Exactly.
And
because at the end of every 2 weeks, the checkbook came out. You have 15 employees. McDonald's gave this much, and you add it up and say, Jesus,
there was lots of
I hope I got that much money in the bank to cover the payroll this week.
Lots of times where I felt like it just spending way too much time at the golf course.
Did you ever have a sleepless night when you were in the business?
Yeah, well, in disrupted sleep,
Anyway, no, there was no sleepless
to tell you the
night.
truth, I wouldn't change a thing. I loved every minute of it. And I still do.
But nobody would work 84 hours a week if they didn't have a passion for what they were doing.
Absolutely. Of course.
Absolutely. No, does it wear and tear on you? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
you're actually only 37.
You look good for 37.
I get my birth certificate out and I whoop,
37. Had your work done?
No, but nowadays, like you talk about owning everything in the shop, like there can't be that many guys left doing that. Like, what do you think the change came from there? Like, I don't. Obviously, at some point that started happening less and less. You think guys don't want to take on that risk? They don't want
I think.
Or is it the other way around? The ownership doesn't want that to happen?
My feeling is that, whenever I parted company with the club that I worked at for 20 years, I thought they had stars in their eyes because I was providing them with my financial statement. And it was their feeling that, well, look at how much business is going on here.
Yeah, look at the cash
coming
through
Let
the
us
field
put our Joe in there.
Yeah.
We'll take the carts. We'll take the range.
Yeah, look how much
money
money
don't see how much time you
and then
spend
we'll also take on the responsibility. They'll put up the $200,000 to buy the inventory, and they'll spend the staff wages for 15 people, and pay your employees as best you can to keep the really good ones. I mean, it was tough, and I think it took them a long time to get their eyes opened.
Yeah, but you've seen a cycle here through all the years that I've been involved. So in the in the 70s, but when I started, mid 80s, so the pro owned all the concessions, club storage, driving range, lessons,
Carts.
pro shop, carts, and now the big cash cow was the power carts.
For sure.
I mean that because you make Bo Diddley on the merchandise of clubs and that, but you make renting the clubs or the carts, you make money, and the clubs would just. Oh, Jesus.
Hang on.
Good. Look at all the cash coming in. They don't see, like you said, sitting down and writing all the checks. Well, we'll just return the inventory at the end of the. Excuse me? Yeah. There's no such thing as consignment.
Yeah.
That's what.
Winners isn't banging on your door at
So I think, and there's a cycle. The pro owned everything, and then the club say, "You want all of this? You can have the shop." Because there's risk there, right?
Yeah.
So the pro had the shop, and then, Jesus,
He's
lots of clubs.
he's doing all right in that shop.
So we'll take the shop too.
Yeah.
So they took the shop, and then holy Christ, what do we do with all this inventory? And so clubs have gone, pro had it all, club had the shop.
Yeah.
Now the pros got it again. They've gone, these guys, it's...
If you're in there, I mean,
full cycle.
like I said, the course I'm at, I mean, obviously with Brownie, they're in a great place, but I think it stands for the passion of your employees too. Like, the pro only sells so much if the employees and him have a passion for that. I mean, and I love stuff with the Royal logo on it, and nothing makes me happier than to fit a set of clubs, and not only helping a member out and improving somebody, but I mean, I can see the guy who's making money off it, and I know him, and he's a friend, and so I think that's a big part of it too. Whereas,
but he's also putting up all the risk, right?
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I've never worked at a club, like I've only ever worked for small, relatively small business or privately owned entities, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if the club has it, I just think there's maybe a little bit less desire to be a little bit of a salesman by some employees, right?
Yeah.
So
and
that's a different thing.
Ergo, one of the contributing factors to the demise of the game, in my opinion. Because a guy who's working for 35 or 40 or 45 hours a week as a golf professional, and I'm not throwing stones at anybody here, but you do not have the commitment, you don't have the passion, you don't have the drive, you're not building relationships because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So now you've probably got a bigger percentage of the people who are in the business just because it's a job.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well be working as a salesman at Joe's clothing store as be a golf pro.
Yeah.
So I think that has a direct impact on the growth and the sustenance of the game. I could be wrong, but I've thought about it long and hard and often, and I just wonder how much passion a guy has who's being paid $35,000 a year to work 45 hours and be on vacation for 4 months.
And look at how many golf pros in our zone that hold a Class A golf professional card that aren't working in golf anymore. Yeah. Because now, despite taking away all that risk and the opportunity to own the shop and own all that stuff, the ownership could still walk in the door at any second and say, pack your things and get out. Like the risk of your job is still there.
Oh,
it's
like security.
Now you don't have the opportunity is always limited.
So the next part of that whole process is how do you attract really great people?
Mm-hmm. That is
so it's a crisis, I think.
Well, it's changed from over 20 years, 30 years ago.
Oh, no, of course.
Yeah.
It's a different business altogether.
Yeah. Totally. So that leads us into a really good one, maybe outside the business, and I mean the business is great talking about, obviously, but biggest changes in golf for better or worse that you guys have seen?
For me?
Just
Like, are you want to go back to feathery golf balls and wooden shafts?
Ooh.
Actually, an interesting point I read about feathery golf balls.
Yeah.
And if you were buying one in today's economy,
it
would cost you $200.
Feathery?
To buy a feathery golf ball. But I think the biggest change, seriously, the biggest change that I've seen is the introduction of the investment cash process to make golf clubs, and to build golf clubs that had a player assist factor. And you know how the lost wax process works. Of course you do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So instead of banging out
investment casting,
instead of banging out forged irons and going through the chroming process and cutting the grooves and doing the balancing, you make a wax mold.
Yeah.
You cover it with silicone paste, melt it, and that leaves a cavity which you fill with metal.
Mm-hmm. You
put it in a furnace at 500 degrees. You crack it open and you put a shaft in it, and you've got a golf club.
Yeah.
So you can do a whole lot more with it, and that was probably the greatest innovation that I can come up with in my time.
That was a Ping originally.
Ping were very, very early in the process for sure, and they were, I think, up until not very long ago, the only company who was making iron heads in North America.
Yeah,
it's all made.
China.
I don't even think Ping makes them anymore, Burgess.
No, I think they're assembled here. in their factory in Phoenix, but
they
it's
bring
all
them all
it's
in.
all brought over. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my thought.
Yeah.
What's yours, Gordy?
Well, I think just an extension of that would be like how I've seen the game change is just, and it's because of what Graham was saying, that the equipment is how far the young people hit it now. Like,
depressing.
so back in the day, do a lesson. Okay, so Brad, you come for a lesson. Never met you. How far do you hit it? Oh, I hit it 300 yards. Ooh, not the day of Persimmon Woods.
What
but,
can I teach you?
Yeah. So I said, well, okay, let's see, and grab the driver and hit. Then it's maybe 260. So I hit it 300, 260. Now you say, how far do you hit it? 300. It's probably 310. I mean.
Oh no, that's still 260.
He's not talking about me personally. That's more
I just think that the technology in the clubs and the ball has made golf courses obsolete. The length of them, and now so you got a golf course. Well, okay, let's lengthen it. Well, we got no more acreage to lengthen it. So okay, make the narrower, longer rough. You got membership play, but that won't happen. It just how far they hit the ball. It doesn't matter driver or iron. I mean, a lot of those kids or younger guys, under 40, they don't need a full set.
No.
No.
I watched a little bit of the college stuff before I came down.
Oh yeah,
That's ridiculous.
Some kid from Auburn. It was a par 3 that was 315 yards. The guy had a 3-wood over the back of the green.
par 4.
Par 3.
Par 3.
Yeah, 310 yards. It might have been a par 4.
Yeah. Like we're not ironing it, Greg.
Oh,
They
they had
had
a
Yes,
US
it's
Open
three-wood.
par 3. They had a US Open par 3 that was 3 bells. Yeah, guys
it's
are hitting
close.
driver at it.
I have to hit driver 4-iron to get it 320.
No,
that's
I
a
guess
big
I
change.
saw a stat a little while ago that the average club head speed in Division 1 golf is actually higher than the PGA Tour.
Is that right?
Yeah, these kids are freaks coming up.
Yeah.
Like there's guys like swinging like 130, 140.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And that's no longer long drive speed. It's now stuff they're taking to the course and they're playing with that. But it's insane the speed these kids are coming. And Cameron Champ is not a very old guy.
I was just going to say, Camp Champ,
Yeah.
I think the
Bomb
other
and
thing
gouge.
that I'd say in the last maybe 10, maybe 15 years at the most is the onset of launch monitors. I mean, these college kids, TrackMan or the quad, whatever, they're just programmed. All the guys in the tour, all the number 1 guys, they all got a TrackMan, and they hit it, and they're just focused and geared, dialed into numbers. So you look at like Trevino. I mean, how he worked the ball. I don't know if these guys can do
Well,
that.
I don't think you can work the ball as much as you could a Balada golf ball. You could you could make it go around in circles if you
yeah.
but not anymore.
Oh, yeah. No.
You can't.
Yeah.
No.
But that's a big change, and I think that's a big change in instruction in the last, let's say, 10, 15 years.
yeah.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah,
absolutely.
because hitting finer points with Coulter. But it's having TrackMan at my disposal has made me maybe not a better teacher, but it's brought me along faster.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
having to pay attention to thousands and thousands of swings.
Yeah.
Every swing gives you so much data now that it's like, okay, well, I can look at this and over that look and that feeling relates to changing that number in a more positive way. And it's has it become too much about the numbers? Maybe. Like, you still got to play the game. Still got to get the ball.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
But I think it makes for more informed instructors, because when I was growing up and you were growing up in the business, if I wanted to learn about the golf swing, working in Fort Erie, I'd get in my car and drive to New York to listen to Strasbaugh and Flick put on a seminar by the PGA of New York.
Yeah.
And you did all that traveling because back in those days, guys weren't willing to really share with you what they were doing and how they did it.
Unless you paid to see them speak.
Yeah.
No, I'm just talking about the average. You go to the Ontario
another
PGA
club,
tournaments and
yeah.
watch the guys
Yeah.
play and ask them for some tips. You'd think you were asking for their social insurance number.
Well, maybe Coulter, maybe they
Because they
didn't
wouldn't.
have anything to share.
No, but they were the people that you looked up to as the
I
better
hear you.
players.
Yeah.
You know, the Bobby Greens
Yeah.
and all the
Yeah.
dudes who played. And then it slowly loosened up, and we started to put on some good seminars in Ontario, and now we have access to good seminars. But you guys coming up, with all the
social
technology.
media
I think
is
you
ridiculous,
become
yeah.
much more knowledgeable, much more capable in a much shorter time than I did. It took me, honest to God, it took me 20 years searching and listening and sorting out all the information until I could come up with my own theory on how I see the golf.
But I think that's almost a lost art is your own theory of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a GC quad, and I love teaching with it, and there's positions that I like to see in a swing, and blah blah. But I think the art of developing your own theory on the golf swing is kind of lost, and it's got to be, well, you have to put it in this position, and your left wrist has to have flexion at impact, and we go on for it. But I think it's just such a stylized way of teaching now that this is optimal with all this science that we have. With all this science that we have to prove it, this is what's optimal. This is what you have to teach. Yeah. But what took you that 20 years was your own theory. I mean, I just finished reading Knudsen's book too, right? Like, you don't see that anymore. You don't have guys who are this is what this is my theory, and this is how I teach.
We brought Knudsen through Manitoba and Saskatchewan. I was on the board at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was captain or not, but I worked with Knudsen for 2 weeks, traveling and putting on seminars, and that was an education in itself. Because Knudsen, unknown to a lot of people, Knudsen moved from Winnipeg to Toronto and got a job at the Toronto Golf Club, and in the winter he went to Shady Oaks where Hogan works, practiced, and he sat under a tree at the end of the driving range and watched Hogan hit balls for 3 months until he could figure out what Hogan did differently from all the other guys.
And that was without TrackMan.
Yeah, with no track
quad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what he came up with? He said that Hogan played everything with a little bit of a shot stance, but at the end of every swing, Hogan's left foot was absolutely dead flat on the ground at impact. Never pronated.
Yeah.
And then Knudsen became one of the best ball strikers of all time.
Yeah.
Well, probably he and Mo were the best ever to come out of
Canadians, and
for sure.
But years ago, you'd get a student you never met, and you're going to teach with them, and not all the time, but a number of times, the student would say, "So what's your philosophy? Who do you follow?" And I said, "Well, I've picked things that I like from a number of people."
Exactly.
And like you say, created my own
And you read
philosophy.
You read the stuff, and if it makes sense to you, you adopt it. If you don't, trash that, and let's look for another.
Which is, I think, the sign of a good teacher, right? I don't think you can just be cut and dry with one thing.
But nowadays, you just say,
you become a method teacher.
Exactly.
Who's your what's your philosophy based on? TrackMan.
Well,
more like that.
Yeah, you hear that a lot for sure.
But I think the guys who are genuinely, like these two young men here, who are genuinely interested in becoming as good as they can be, they go beyond what you just said.
But
They're not satisfied with that. They want to know the inside.
If you just learn from working with a TrackMan or a quad, Foresight quad, if that's your base that you build upon, I think it's a little bit shallow from listening to different guys or observing different guys, absorbing that, and TrackMan and Foresight.
Right, and that's what I wanted to touch on here. Like, you talked about driving down to Fort Erie or down to New York to learn about new things, and you took the initiative to go out on your own and do this research and do these things, and now, like, with us, we have other, like, everything at our disposal. But so does everybody else. So we now need to find things above and beyond that are going to put us above the other people that we're. For sure. I mean, we talk about sharing ideas, and that's absolutely, like, sharing ideas is one of the ways that you learn. And then we talk about going to zone events, you learn from the other guys that are there. But at the same time, you're competing in that industry with these guys. You gotta find things to do there more and more and more and more, and you gotta always be on the leading edge of what's new and what you can incorporate, and finding your own identity, not just teaching somebody else's identity to all your students as well.
I think you have to take on an aspect that you never ever want to be satisfied that you know it all.
Right.
Because when that happens, go clean windows.
Yeah, and I pride myself on that. Not only with teaching in the golf swing itself, is never being satisfied that what you have is good enough. It's always just trying to get the next thing, the next step, the next thing that makes you better.
But see, I remember back in the day when we whether it was finances that limited it, or we certainly didn't have social media, but so how much is it going to cost to bring in Strasbourg? Okay, well, big time money. We can't afford that. But a couple of years we took people from within our zone
Sure we did.
and say, okay, like Randy Vogt comes to mind, and he was an awesome player.
Yeah.
And he never practiced. He just, well, let's go tee it up, boom, shoot deep. So, what the
But
hell?
he grew up with golf clubs.
Well, yeah, I know.
His old man was a golf pro.
Yeah, I know a guy like that.
But so what? What are you thinking? What are you doing when you're going to hit the ball? You know. So he would share that stuff with it. I don't think we have enough of that.
No, we don't.
You know.
No. We've tried.
Yeah.
And it has worked to some degree,
Yeah.
and I don't think the powers that be on our board should give up on that. I think it's something
I
that
agree. Yeah.
you know, we should play as groups more and interchange, go play golf. And okay, so we can only be there for one day, but that doesn't mean that you have to play with the same 4 guys. Let's change every 3 holes. Have a different course. Play with different guys.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Pick their brains.
Yeah,
sit
absolutely.
down and talk about it.
Yeah.
But Garrett and I have chatted about this during the golf season. Is like set up a panel. Some of the older guys in the zone for the newer guys, the younger guys, and share our, whether it's a question and answer or probably that's a better question and answer than me get up there and present my philosophy. You present, you got a resource of 3 or 4 people if they're willing to, and ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
and share. You know.
But I honestly,
that's missing.
It is missing for sure.
Yeah.
But I also think that not enough instruction is done on the golf course. I think it's way too much. Stand on the driving range, hit balls, work on this, hit balls.
Yeah.
It's the most boring thing on the earth.
Well,
for me.
And then you also you might get a chance to play with one of your students, and you go out on the course, and you're like, who is this person? Like, this is a totally different person than shows up on
Absolutely.
the range.
And if you were to take the time and go onto the golf course and play with them, they'd learn a hell of a lot more than they would by standing there striping out 2 pails of golf balls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
But there's got to be a certain level for that student to be at before you can do that.
Oh, for sure there is. For sure. But the last thing you want to do is have them bored to tears because they
absolutely.
got blisters on their hands from hitting golf balls.
So what's wrong with
I'm having no
blisters on
fun.
Calluses.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out episode 3, part 1, The Legends with Graham Coulter and Gord Burgess. Brad and myself are pretty excited to have them on. So excited that we created 2 parts. So stick around and enjoy part 2.